Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
This is the November 10th meeting of the Somis Municipal Advisory Council. And the first item on the agenda is roll call.
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that. Robert Fulkerson,
Aquí.
Tyler Cobb, let me know he'd be out in advance. Jack Foss,
Here.
Patricia Martinez,
Here.
and Chair Richards.
Yes, here.
Thank you.
Okay, Patty, I was wondering if I could get you to do the honors of our flag salute. You available?
Of course.
All right.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance
flag
to the
of
flag
the United States of America
America,
and to the
Republic,
Republic.
for which it stands,
one
One
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice for all.
justice.
for all.
All right. Thank you very much, Patty. And moving on to our next item on the agenda, and that's the approval of the minutes from September 8th, 2021. Does anybody have any specific changes or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion.
Bob
to-
makes a motion.
Bob makes a motion.
And do I have a second somewhere?
I second it.
Jack Foss. Okay, I'll do a roll call. Bob Fulkerson,
Aye.
Jack Foss,
Aye.
Patty Martinez,
Aye.
Chair Richards.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the agenda review is,
There's the
I've got
agenda.
this, got it. Oh, am I still on?
Oh, you are.
Okay. Crazy Zoom meeting. Yeah.
I was gonna show the agenda. Here we go.
All right. Anybody have any specific changes or concerns regarding the agenda this evening?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move forward with our existing agenda and go to agenda item number 5. And I believe we have Deputy Mike Baker available. Mike, you want to take it away?
Right. Well, in reviewing the calls for service for the last month, there really isn't a lot going on in Somis. We have a few property crimes, theft of mail, and so forth like that. I went through all of the different areas. There really are no crime trends that we've got that we're seeing, some noise disturbances and so forth. So a couple of stolen vehicles, nothing big, which is good. It's good news. I mean, there are several calls for service as I look through them all, but a lot of them are just very small property type crimes and some transients that we have. We got a big transient problem that flows out of Camarillo into the county area. So we have people on that, and that's kind of the big thing that's been going on the last year. But outside of that, the main concerns that we're still continuing to see, there's 2 of them actually, catalytic converter thefts, which we don't have any reports of those in the county area, just because I think it's more appealing to people and easy to get to in a city environment where the houses are in row housing, tract housing, and such like that. Plus, there's a lot of off property and on-street parking, so it makes it easier for thieves to get to. So we continue to put out notifications for catalytic converter theft prevention, as well as we have the Etch and Catch program that the city sponsors. So anybody from any city can actually go to any of the 5 locations that we have worked out with the police department and local garages and or Jiffy Lube type locations to get their catalytic converter spray painted with a sheriff's logo and Ventura Sheriff's stencil on it, and have the last 8 of the VIN and license plate number etched into the cat converter. And then also 2 of the shops that we're working with, they're actually garages. They wrench on cars. They've been doing it and will continue to do it for anybody that wants to come in, but they'll install an anti-theft device on the catalytic converter, whether they weld it or it's a cable situation or a plate that they bolt on or weld on with rivets. It's very helpful. I'm not sure the prices because each vehicle garners a different price, as well as each car has different problems associated with it. So they can fabricate something if they can't buy a kit to just put it on. But yeah, it's Camarillo Car Care Center and Camarillo Independent that are doing the anti-theft device installation. So that's one thing. We still are on the rise. We still have catalytic converter thefts going on, but we've been making headway when we are able to track them. And we had a few recent arrests where we've recovered some catalytic converters. Hopefully, if we can get a catalytic converter that's been etched and spray painted, when we catch the guys, we can link them to other catalytic converter thefts that occur. And then the other one that we have is we've got a recent rash of residential burglaries and thefts that have been occurring in the night shift hours. So anytime in hours of darkness, usually it's in the early mornings. Crooks will cruise through the streets and take a look and see who's left their garage door open, or they'll park their car someplace and walk through the neighborhoods and check doors on cars. So we're putting out and endorsing the 9 o'clock routine system that we have, which basically at 9 o'clock at night, you lock your front door, you turn an exterior light on, maybe a motion sensor light, you make sure your garage door is closed, you lock all your windows. And if people get into the habit of it, I know I have been, every time I leave the house just to go walk my dog, I lock the front door and make sure my slider is locked and everything. It really curbs a lot of the thefts that occur in the early morning hours. And then, of course, we've told the deputies that when they're cruising, there's a couple of different ways that they can drive nighttime patrol through neighborhoods. Usually it's after midnight, maybe 11 o'clock from then on. They can do one of a couple of ways. One, they drive blacked out and really slow, and they're kind of going covert so they can keep an eye out for any suspicious activity, any bodies moving, ducking between cars or behind cars. And plus, when we're driving blacked out, the crooks don't see us as easily. The other is regular routine patrol with the lights on and spotlights just riding around. But what I always like to do, it depends on the day and what I feel like in the mood. But when I've worked patrol, I'll put the full light bar on, the alley lights and the spotlights, and drive through so that both the crooks, if they're there, and the neighbors look out the window and they see this police car driving through nice and slow. And they're like, ooh, what's going on? It scares the crooks away. And when the public calls into dispatch and say, hey, I just saw a police car driving real slow with his lights on and no siren, what's going on? And they say, oh, they do a high visibility patrol because it scares them away. It's like turning the lights on in the garage and all the cockroaches go to the corners. Works really well. So that's the current thing that we're doing. And yeah, so
Okay.
any questions?
There was a question raised at our last meeting about an illegal pot farm. I was wondering, did you have a chance to look into that?
Yes, I did briefly and didn't see anything that I looked into. In fact, that refreshed my memory. Thanks for bringing that up. I reread the notes or the minutes to the meeting the other day, and just with my job being inundated because I'm covering for 2 other positions that are vacant currently, I wasn't able to get a phone call into our narcotics unit to find that out. But nothing poked out. I did search through the red books that we post every day for Camarillo and all the other stations, and I didn't see anything that stood out glaringly. So I'll follow back up with our narcotics division and see if they have any other information for me.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions for Deputy Barker?
I do have a hand raised by Shelley Borden.
Hi, I was just wondering if there's any reports on fatal accidents or serious injury accidents in Somis.
In Somis, since that's actually in the county area, the highway patrol would be handling that. We may go as a mutual aid to assist, but we won't do any documentation. So I wouldn't have any statistics on traffic accidents, fatal or otherwise, once it crosses out of the city borders, because the highway patrol does that.
We have CHP Officer Ryan Ayers on, so he'll be presenting next.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Deputy Baker? Okay, Then we'll move on. Thank you very much, Deputy. We really appreciate the information.
You bet.
So-
My pleasure.
Cool.
I'll have an answer for that marijuana grow next time.
We have,
Yeah, stay safe out there, okay?
You bet. Thank you
Pat,
guys.
we have two more public law enforcement officers. We
Very
have,
good. You have CHP?
two
Oh, yeah.
CHPs.
Two?
Well, I have Officer Heather, Deputy, or Lieutenant Commander, sorry, Heather Hoagland. So
Right,
we could start with Commander Hoagland.
Yeah. Commander, you available?
Yes, hi, good evening. I'm the Lieutenant Commander at the Conejo Scales on the 101, and we also man the pit scales on the 118. Last time we spoke, somebody had a question for me regarding trucks being bullies on the 118 coming in and out of that scale. And I have had conversations with both Caltrans as well as my sergeants and officers. And while the answer I gave you is the letter of the law, that people on the 118 in the main lanes of the 118 have the right of way. Trucks, unfortunately, they don't have fast acceleration, nor do they have fast braking, but nobody wants to be caught behind a truck, and I get that. So I just wanted to remind people that, we do have merge signs there. It is an area where there's fields, there's a lot of commercial farm traffic there, and we do have to share the roads. So, be polite, be kind, let these trucks in. I do not tolerate bullies, whether it be trucking bullies or just your average automobile, SUV, truck bully. But I've asked Caltrans also to look at some more signage, cones, or even the attenuators that actually go into the ground. They are going to be presenting that to their engineers. So I just wanted to let you know that. And on another note, I just recently found out since our last meeting that the eastbound side of the 118 coming out of Somis going towards Moore Park, I was under the impression that Caltrans had a project that would probably be starting in 2 or 3 years. But now it looks like it may be starting already next year, April of 22. And I noticed that you have the Ventura County Transportation Commission Freight Corridor Study update. Whoever's giving that might have some more details as well on the eastbound side of the 118. But what I'm told by the engineer at Caltrans is that they are planning on starting construction and putting a modular building on the eastbound side, a little bit bigger than what's already on the westbound side. And then also dropping a scale into the lane there that will actually weigh trucks like they have on the westbound side. They don't currently have that on the eastbound side. And then the truck lanes will be adjusted as well. So again, until I see a shovel in the ground, I don't want to, have you put this date on your calendar of April of 22 that this is going to start. But tentatively, April of 22 will be the start of construction, and it will be May of 23 before it is completed.
Did they say anything about traffic control and what that was going to be involved with?
Right. What it sounds like, for at least for the first half of the construction, it's going to be sort of off the roadway, like the modular building that they're building, and the building part of it shouldn't interfere with traffic. And then the rest of it, there's already the lanes that are not the main lane, but the truck lanes. That's where the construction is going to focus, but we will be in contact with them in terms of what kind of traffic control might be needed in those areas, and I'll report on that. I do not have anything concrete for you at this point.
Okay, the project that you're referring to is in relationship to a future way station. The
Right.
project that I'm familiar with is taking place on embankment protection of the railroad, taking place from, I don't know, say Balcom Canyon to Sand Canyon.
Okay.
Have Caltrans identified to you what kind of traffic controls are associated with that project?
No, I haven't heard. And actually, if there's traffic control there on the 118, if it's not involving the scales, that would be Moore Park, and maybe Officer Ayers, who's going to be coming up next. Maybe he has some information. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But this would just be the scale construction that I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions? Well, hearing none. Thank you very much,
Hearing none.
Commander. Appreciate
You're
it. And stay safe out there, huh?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Denise, you said that there was a captain, or excuse me, a CHP
Ryan
person,
Ayers.
Captain Ryan, or,
Yes.
I just go by officer, not, haven't promoted yet, but I am jumping in for our Lieutenant Commander, Lieutenant Jeremy Key, who couldn't be here tonight, but we've conversed and have some similar topics to talk about. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here. First of all, I had a couple questions that you guys had that I wanted to address just so I don't forget them. First was, it sounded like the traffic control situation on the 118 for some embankment improvement to protect the railroad. Am I understanding that correctly?
correct?
Okay. So as I understand it, they are going to be starting that project. We don't have an exact start date yet, but the way we understand it is, as of right now, there should not be any it should not affect the flow of traffic in any way. They've have the guardrails for most of that area, and those guardrails, as I understand for right now, are going to be staying in place. So that's going to keep everything off on the railroad side, and traffic shouldn't be interrupted. So if that changes and we get a word on that at the next meeting, we can, or as we learn about it, that next meeting we can share that for sure. Keep you updated on that. I heard a question about fatal accidents in and around Somis. Is that the other question that I heard?
Yes, correct.
All right. So the last major and or fatal accident that we had was right there at Somis Road and the 118. Essentially where Donlin used to go straight through, and it kind of jogs now. There was a vehicle that went straight through that intersection from Somis Road into trees and embankment fence area. And that was the last, and I believe it was in February. So that was the last major crash in that area and the last fatal accident. So anything I can add to that to maybe better clarify your question? I think it was Shelley.
Nope, that was great. That was my question. My other question is, there was talk about having speed controls on Balcom Canyon. I'm just wondering if that's still in effect, or you have bigger and better things to do.
Definitely not bigger and better things. I mean, obviously, everywhere we can get speed control is going to help you as well as us do our job, right? So I think what you may be referring to are radar digital readout signs that give an exact speed of a vehicle. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, yes, there was one there for a short while, but at one time they were sending out sort of speed patrols to monitor speed and giving out tickets and good things like that.
And we still are. So just kind of historically, the county, all of Ventura County, as I understand it, has 12 automated speed signs that you're talking about that are spread out throughout the entire county. And what they're trying to do is get those into locations, roadways that are both high impact for the amount of traffic that goes through there, and also has a large incidence of maybe crashes or whatever else may be going on in those areas. So I know Balcom Canyon is on their list. And And by the way, these are signs that are on a pole. They're set in the ground. They're there for a designated amount of time. But they are solar, and they give a reading for traffic coming through there to their speed. Balcom Canyon, although it gets a lot of traffic, it doesn't meet their criteria as a high incident roadway at the moment, which is good. It's a roadway that doesn't have a lot of crashes. It doesn't have a lot of anything that's going to cause major safety issues, other than the speed that we, as the Moore Park CHP, are trying to address. The last sign that went out there was actually a mobile sign that mobile radar sign that the Moore Park CHP put out there. I actually went out there and put that out there myself. And that's just a trailer that we have one of, and we're trying to get that throughout our entire area. 2 days ago, I went over to Oak Park, where it had been sitting for 19 days, and I just moved it over to Casa Caneo on Windy Drive, where it's going to sit for a little bit longer. We try to service the areas that are seeing those upticks in high speeds and the incidents, and then make our way back. Like we're going to spread this out throughout the county, but we have to hit certain areas. And it was just out in Balcom, earlier, a couple months ago. So it will be back. It will be back. And at some point, the county is just going to put their sign, one of their 12 that they have throughout the county, out on Balcom as well. So hopefully then we'll have assistance with the visual reminder, as well as our officers going out there and enforcing the speed limit during shift.
I appreciate that information. And I can say that I noticed that even with your temporary trailer one, that it really sort of slows people down to know that they're being watched, so to speak. So I appreciate that. And does the CHP have any plans for the future to increase the number of those for the county?
So yes.
No budget.
Yes, exactly. So what we're doing, we're actually in the process of writing a grant. Let me back up. We just applied for a grant for the Ventura County Transit Commission. They have a grant that we applied for, and we are looking, hopefully, to get some of this equipment through that. The next grant that we have available, we are already trying to write the grant and get ahead of it so that we can write things in there like the portable radar trailers. That way we can disseminate them throughout the county in greater number. And it's good to hear that you feel that they're effective, because we are there when we're enforcing the speed on that sign, but we don't always hear what the residents have to say. So that's good information. So I appreciate that. But to answer your question, yes, we're trying to acquire more of those signs.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wealth of information.
Thank you.
All right, and any other questions for Officer Ryan? Okay. Bob?
I have a couple of things just for you guys, just in general. I wanted to kind of piggyback on a couple of things that Deputy Baker was talking about. He did a great job of addressing those. We also have had very few incidents out in the Somis area, which is good, especially with the uptick in the traffic that I'm sure you guys have noticed going through the area. So one of our major things that we're focusing on is the commercial traffic. We know that there's a lot more commercial vehicles coming through the area, and us partnered with Lieutenant Hoagland and her inspection facilities. We're trying to touch as many of these commercial drivers as possible and let them know that although there's a lot less enforcement on the 118 because of resources and the lack of a major scale like the US 101. We're still out there and watching and monitoring what they're doing. We just did a big, I can't really call it an operation, but we did have a lot of resources go over to the area of Primetime, the distribution center right there. I know we've had a lot of parking complaints, issues, vehicle or the now on the roadway, sitting there for multiple hours at a time. And we've been working to try to get some of the roadway over there actually blocked off, or the shoulder, I should say, so that they can't sit there, and it will give vehicles pulling in and out a little bit more of a visual farther down the roadway, so they know when it's safe to pull out and when it's not. So I think that was pretty effective. Again, with what Deputy Baker was talking about with the catalytic converters, we've been sending people as well to those resources that he was talking about, those shops, and we are piggybacking on what they're doing in the county because it is a good program. And we just recently had 2 arrests, one out of Oak Park and one out of Santa Rosa Valley, where they did find these catalytic converters in the vehicle that our officers stopped. But like Deputy Baker was saying, we didn't have a way to get them back to the owner. With this program, you have that etched onto your catalytic converter, and now we know exactly who to go back to and say, here's your property back. So it is a good program. We're sending people to that as well. With people being out in the community, especially with the time change, it's gotten darker quicker. Just the holidays in general, it gets darker faster. So we do like the residents to be our eyes and ears as well when we can't be everywhere at once. So, if you see yourself driving down the roadway and all of a sudden motion lights are coming on, or you're hearing dogs barking that don't normally bark, all things that we can think of that are clues. Maybe kind of keep an eye out when you see that to help us go into those areas and look for activity that, criminal activity that's going on. So we kind of rely on you guys as well for that information. So we appreciate your help on that. Let's see here. I just spoke with actually one of the residents today about the speed on Somis Road, State Route 34. And there has definitely been an uptick in the speed people are going, especially through the downtown area, right there with the Somis Market. We were out there time has flown. It might be 2 months ago now, at the Somis Market and Cafe, and we did a Coffee with the Cop event with the help of Lieutenant Hoagland and some of her staff at the scales. And we were out there. You could definitely see the traffic slow down when they saw our patrol vehicles out there and us standing out there talking with people. And obviously with that, in-view patrol is something that we rely heavily on. So when we know an area to focus on, by you guys letting us know, we're going to go there. So we had, let's see here, 4 different shifts go out there recently to the Somis Road and do enforcement, but they were also there for the in-view patrol, and we saw a significant decrease in the speed for the next several days. So we're going to continue that, and hopefully we can help curb that high speed through there for you. With that being said, we are also going to be putting the radar trailer, like I said, out there in Somis area to help with that as well. So not just Balcom Canyon, but one of the next places that we're going to be putting is out there in Somis. So hopefully that visual will have the same effect, we're hoping, along with the enforcement. Let's see. Talked about that. So a couple things that we have coming up. With the holidays, the CHP always does our Chips for Kids event. That event directly benefits all the communities that we serve throughout Ventura, I should say Eastern Ventura County, because Ventura CHP handles the western portion of the county. But we will be starting our toy drive through Chips for Kids coming up pretty quick. Like I said, that directly benefits you guys. It directly benefits all the other unincorporated areas that we serve. So it's a good program. We'll have all the stuff up there on our social media. You'll probably see it on all the TV, the news channels, channel 9, channel 2, things like that. So it's a good cause. We're trying to get out there and help our communities give back a little bit. Some of the public safety things that we have with traditionally Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving travel weekend and Christmas travel weekend, we do our maximum enforcement periods. We will be out there again where we have as many officers come and saturate the major roadways and the highways, trying to, again, do that in-view patrol, but we're focusing on impaired driving, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or both, even medications. Impaired driving is a big issue we've been having lately. Obviously distracted driving, and then also reducing the fatalities that we have throughout Ventura County. Every one of those that we can reduce is a win for everyone. So we're committed to that. Let's see, the last thing I'm going to have for you guys, just to kind of piggyback on something that Deputy Baker was saying also, with the holidays, we see a huge uptick in 2 major crimes. One is burglaries of vehicles, and kind of our message to help with that is anything that you can think of that looks like a valuable in your vehicle, especially when we're coming home from the outlets or a big shopping spree to get those gifts, or we're traveling, or we're going to be traveling. Don't be leaving those gifts in your car. If there's something that you have to leave in plain sight just out of necessity, make sure it's completely covered, inconspicuous. Don't give someone a reason to break into the vehicles. Keep everything out of sight. Also, as residents, if you see something, say something. Let us know what you see so we can help out. I think that is. Oh, the last thing was the packages. We also get a lot of calls because of packages being stolen off of porches. If you have a way to track your packages, or if you can schedule time to have packages delivered, or if you have someone that can go pick it up off of your doorstep, those packages disappear very quickly. And then those people disappear very quickly, especially with how close Somis is to the 101 and the 118. And all the routes they have through the unincorporated, through the fields and everything, they disappear really quickly, even over the 126. So if you can keep those packages off the porches, out of your vehicles, it's going to save a lot of heartache come the holidays. So other than that, that's pretty much all I've got. I had a lot of talking, a lot of safety stuff that we were trying to push out, but if you guys have anything else for me, I'd be happy to answer any questions or comments or concerns.
You've done a superb job.
Thank you very much.
A lot of information.
Yeah, no problem. And if at any point you have anything that you feel is not an emergency, but something that you would like to reach out to us for, feel free to contact the Moore Park CHP office, and we're always available to have a conversation or hear a request or need when need be.
I have one question. Is your office involved at all with regard to the freight corridor study?
I'm not familiar with the freight corridor.
Okay, it's Ventura County Transportation.
Fill me in a little bit, and maybe.
I didn't know if your office was involved. It's
What's the
designating,
background on it?
it's designating principally for this particular area, the Highway 118 as a freight corridor, which is basically a federal identification. And that would open up more funds available for construction or safety measures, anything that's associated with moving freight, principally from the harbor area, going into Los Angeles or San Fernando Valley.
Sure. I think what you're referring to is something that's going to be really too soon for us to answer at the level of an office. That's something that's happening way above our heads up in Sacramento. I think that is something that will be disseminated to us sooner than later. But when you're talking about money, the offices and the areas don't have much say in that. That's going to be between state legislature, it'll be between Caltrans, and it'll be between the heads of the CHP that start that process. And I think it's pretty recent, last couple of days, correct?
No, it's been in the works for some time, so.
Okay, we're talking about two different things then.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we're talking about two different things. I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sorry about that.
No
Thank you very
problem.
much.
Yes, thank you, Officer Ryan, really appreciate it, and stay safe out there, so. All right.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right, moving on our agenda, next up is comments from Supervisor Linda Parks.
Hey, good evening. How are you all doing? Nice to
Doing
see
well.
you. Good, glad to hear it. A couple of things that are happening in the Somis area. We do have a vaccination pop-up site that we got at the Somis school, and our county's healthcare agency at our request has arranged that. I know that we have, I guess 18 people have received either their first or their third booster shots so far, but we have made that available and make it as easy as possible for people to get vaccinated if they so choose. We also know that there was a broadband infrastructure bill that was recently passed in Congress, and so we will get another update in the future on how that might impact projects such as broadband in the Somis area, that since their focus is on rural communities, and you're still rural, go Somis. I think that's pretty much it. I don't have a lot to comment on. And obviously on your agenda, you have VCTC here to talk about the freight corridor study, so you can get that good information on that. And as I understand it, it really isn't going to impact Somis. And I think part of it is because they have heard from you. And I think that I know we have another topic on here that I'll be here to help you with on 10B, which is the redistricting. So we have some updates on that, and I'll pause and answer questions if you have any, and I'll be around for those agenda items.
Okay, anybody have any questions for a supervisor? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to next item, our agenda, item number 7. Comments on that are not on the agenda, council comments. Does anybody from the advisory council have any comments that are not related to the agenda? All right.
Nope, haven't seen anything going on.
All right. Hearing none, then item 8 is for public comments to address items not on the agenda.
If anyone has a public comment, you can do the raise your hand. Shelley Borden. Okay, she's the only one I see so far. So Shelley, I'm gonna ask you to, I think you're already unmuted or here. Shelley, you can unmute by pressing *6 on your phone. Great.
Can you hear
Hello?
me now?
Yes.
Okay. At the end where Balcom Canyon comes into the 118 or LA Avenue, there was a big arrow sign on the other side of the, well, right by the railroad tracks. There was a double arrow sign pointing both ways. And it seems to have been broken off. I don't know how or when or why. But is there any way that somebody can contact Caltrans to have that fixed?
Okay, is it 118 and Balcom, you said?
Yes,
Okay, I will,
on the railroad track side.
on the railroad track side. Okay, I will forward that to Caltrans for you. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other hands, Denise?
I do not, let me look, I'll do a quick scan. I don't see any.
All right, then we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda item number 9, which is information items, an update on the VCTC freight corridor study. And do we have someone that can speak on that?
Yes, and I have Amanda. Oh, you're unmuted. Yeah,
I'm here. Hello.
there you go.
Thank you, Chairman Richards, for the invitation. Also, thank you, Venice and Supervisor Parks, for the invitation to speak with you this evening. My name is Amanda Fagan, and I'm the Director of Planning and Sustainability for the Ventura County Transportation Commission. If you'll indulge me a few minutes, I'd like to share with you an overview of the study itself, and then I'll focus on the pieces that I think are most directly related to the Somis community. But first, I'd like to share a little bit of good news that's not directly related to the freight corridor study, but that came up in the discussion with Officer Ayers. On last Friday, November 5th, the Ventura County Transportation Commission, acting in its capacity as the Ventura County Service Authority for Freeway Emergencies, or SAFE, approved allocations for the Incident Responder Grant Program, which Officer Ayers was referring to. And it sounds like CHP doesn't know yet, but I have some good news. The allocation to CHP includes funding in the amount of $259,000 that will fund the purchase of radar enforcement tools, LiDAR devices, mobile message trailers, a major incident response trailer, a total station system that improves traffic investigations, and a number of other tools to assist CHP in their efforts to prevent and respond to roadway incidents. So that was just approved last Friday, and the awards will be going out within the next couple of weeks. So. But sort of back to the freight corridor study, I'll share my screen here momentarily.
Shelley, is that grant for both East and West Ventura CHP, or?
So we received just one grant application for CHP, and it will serve all of Ventura County. They did request, for example, 2 of the mobile message sign trailers. One would be for the East and one would be for the West County offices. So they submitted a combined grant application.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for the invitation to speak this evening.
There we go.
Let's see, next slide. The Ventura County Freight Corridor Study is a partnership among 4 public agencies, including the Ventura County Transportation Commission, the Port of Hueneme, Caltrans, and the Southern California Association of Governments, that was intended to identify and prioritize freight corridors for safer, more efficient, and sustainable freight connections. The results of the freight corridor study will be combined with the results of other studies that we have underway, including the 101 Communities Connected Multimodal Corridor Study, the Transit Integration and Efficiency Study, and other planning efforts that will inform the Ventura County Comprehensive Transportation Plan update. The corridor study broadly defines freight as anything transported that is not people. So whether carried by trucks or rail to and from the port or farms, or delivered to homes and businesses. And the corridors are paths along which the freight is moved, such as roads or rails. The draft study was released to the public on September 10th and was presented to our commission on October 1st. The public comment period closed on October 15th, and the draft study was also presented at the Oxnard Harbor District Commission on October 18th. The final study was approved by our commission on November 5th. The freight corridor study is guided by defined goals and objectives. Stakeholder input, data analysis, and literature review were combined to identify opportunities and vulnerabilities, and potential solutions were assessed according to study goals and performance measures. Potential solutions included existing freight corridor projects, along with 25 new project concepts that were identified through stakeholder involvement. Priorities in 3 general categories were identified as recommended areas of focus. Our public engagement for the study included stakeholder interviews, public workshops, direct communications, presentations to groups such as the Somis MAC, as well as bilingual social media campaign, a project website, and an online survey. Based on stakeholder engagement, we developed principles for addressing freight corridor issues that included sustained involvement in the development of both transportation infrastructure investment to ensure that capital improvements are both freight corridor and community assets, a commitment to safety and to encourage a transition to a fleet of zero emission vehicles through charging and other supportive infrastructure, and to favor routes that avoid impacts on communities, especially disadvantaged communities, by improving existing corridors in ways that mitigate current impacts to improve conditions while not creating new corridors that impact other communities. And in the interest of time, I'll only very briefly address the key findings and recommended areas of focus. Stakeholders identified a variety of opportunities and vulnerabilities, such as port and naval base access, truck parking, and areas in need of infrastructure improvements. The study analyzed land uses across the county and modeled truck trip generation by land use type. The modeling indicates that distributed origins and destinations for trucks across the county, with the cities of Oxnard and Thousand Oaks generating the largest share of truck trips at 23% and 17% respectively. Truck trip generation analysis also indicates that the Port of Hueneme generates approximately 0.6% of total daily truck trips in Ventura County, which runs somewhat contrary to common belief. The study supplemented previous truck counts to get a more complete picture of major travel routes. US 101 has the highest truck volumes, but State Route 118 and State Route 126, as well as State Route 34, carry comparable levels of truck trips. From the opportunities and vulnerabilities identification and the assessment of potential solutions according to performance measures, the study recommends 3 areas of focus: to strengthen existing freight corridors, strengthen the port intermodal corridor, and improve truck supportive infrastructure. The recommendations are a set of specific improvements distributed around the county to address goods movement while improving mobility for all modes of travel and reducing community impacts in freight corridors. I'll highlight a few of these recommended areas of focus that I think are particularly relevant to the Somis community. First, the recommended area of focus A, which is entitled Enhanced Truck Route Identification, would include signage at decision points to direct truck trips to and through the freeway system, and also using technology to help keep through trucks on the highway system, such as through tools such as geofencing. The picture on the top right is at the westbound State Route 118 sign east of Moore Park, which provides signage about the routes, but it does not provide travel times along preferred routes, as shown in the example of a changeable message sign below. Recommended area of focus D is a State Route 118 corridor safety project, which is intended to reduce collision incidents and provide operational improvements, such as median treatments in the, that are shown in the graphic on the right. The study specifies that these improvements are safety related and are not intended to increase capacity. The draft study was actually revised in advance of the final study to clarify this point in response to the letter from your council. Area of focus H is a community traffic calming program that would be intended to reduce vehicle speeds, improve safety, and reduce noise impacts. This recommendation came from discussions with residents of the El Rio and Nyland Acres communities, but has applications to the Somis community as well. And I think that's really relevant to the discussion earlier this evening with the officers from the Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Department. Finally, area of focus Q includes commercial vehicle enforcement facility upgrades that would improve protection and preservation of pavement, enforcement operations, and freight data for planning. Caltrans has an existing project to upgrade the weigh station on the 118 just east of the 34. These improvements are intended to help keep trucks on the freeway system, as there is speculation that some trucks use the 118 and the 126 to avoid the scales on the 101. The freight corridor study is not itself a funding allocation program, but rather was an organizing document to help focus the priorities of partner implementing agencies in the county. Regardless of the funding or development process, transportation system improvements require cooperation among agencies, significant public involvement, and balancing transportation with broader community goals. I'll just mention that the image on the right comes from a video that was produced by a local community group called Nyland Promise in the Nyland Acres community. They received a Go Human mini grant from the Southern California Association of Governments that would allow the group to help pedestrians and cyclists navigate the community more safely. The Somis community may want to consider applying for future opportunities should a project or need arise. And we'd be happy to keep you informed of upcoming opportunities. As I mentioned, the draft freight corridor study was posted to our website and available for public review beginning on September 10th. An executive summary was also posted and available in both English and Spanish, and the public comment period closed on October 15th. The final study is now posted on the website as well. As I previously mentioned, the commission approved the final study last Friday. But prior to adoption, we received verbal comments during our public workshop, as well as at the Ventura County Transportation Commission meeting and the Harbor Commission presentation. And we received written comments on the draft study from Caltrans, the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District, Gold Coast Transit District, your Somis MAC.
Are you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Someone needs to mute, please.
Sorry, I just was making sure it wasn't a question. As well as the city of Camarillo and another resident of the Somis community. Our team incorporated the feedback into the final study that was approved by the commission. We did receive your letter prior to our October 1st commission meeting, and that was provided to all of our commissioners. And of course, that letter exposed opposition to designation as a freight corridor and also opposition to widening of state routes 118 and 34 through downtown Somis. So just to clarify, the freight corridor study does not propose to designate any freight corridors, but instead we reviewed all the roads and rails in the county based on levels of truck or freight train volume. And we developed strategies to address identified challenges. The study does not propose to widen state routes 118 or 34 in the Somis area, But also, as I mentioned earlier, in response to your letter, the final study was revised to clarify that recommended area of focus D, the State Route 118 safety improvements, are focused on safety-related improvements that do not increase capacity. And also to take note of the areas of focus discussed earlier in my presentation that relate to the Somis community. And since my colleague Caitlin Brooks, who served as the program manager overseeing the development of this study, previously presented to your council, I wanted to share that Caitlin is out on family leave through the new year, having welcomed her baby Robert just as we close the comment period for the draft study. And while I have your attention, I just want to take this opportunity to briefly share some information on our countywide comprehensive transportation plan update. Our community engagement is underway. We have an online map-based survey that's available through November 15th and can be found at https:/ventura-ctp. And I understand that that's also been sent out to your MAC members. We also launched a digital foyer, which is an online public meeting space and information hub that will be available throughout the plan development. And finally, we've held 2 pop-up events during the month of October at the Thousand Oaks Street Fair and also at the Ventura Harbor Halloween event. We'll hold additional pop-ups during the upcoming phases of the study in different areas around the county in order to reach as much of the county as we can. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And again, I thank you for your interest in the freight study.
Amanda, I have a question. You're identifying traffic safety improvements on Highway 118. And one of the diagrams that you had shown was left turn pockets and right turn pockets. Wouldn't that cause a widening to take place on Highway 118?
Not necessarily. And the diagram was provided for illustrative purposes. The left and right turn pockets are often, the median treatments are often used as a safety treatment. But again, that was just provided as an example of the type of treatments that might be recommended through further study of a need for safety improvements on the 118.
The other question I have is you were referring to zero emission truck vehicles at some point in the future, which would necessitate the charging stations. And how is that going to take place if they're on the freeway or Highway 118? They would have to exit those roadways in order to do a charging station. Are you looking for opportunities to place charging stations along that freight corridor study area?
So there's a lot more planning that would need to go into the placement of the zero emission charging stations. And some of that work has already been done through the Ventura County Electric Vehicle Readiness Blueprint. But also there's a new study that's underway in partnership with the Santa Barbara Association of Governments and a number of other Central Coast counties called the Central Coast Zero Emission Deployment Strategy. So that will be some additional analysis on where charging stations should be located. And we will be looking for areas of opportunity and need associated with charging infrastructure. So there's more to come on that as well.
Thank you very much.
Amanda, Jack Foss here. Did I understand you to say that the harbor essentially produces 350 truck trips per day? Is that correct?
So the Port of Hueneme produces on an average day when there's a truck in port, 350 trucks through its gate. That does not include, and as was noted in the slides, the subsequent trips when the port trucks are transferred to other other trucks that may move throughout the county. So that's their direct impact. One of the things that came up in the study is that when you're seeing what look like the containers that move across the ocean and then are placed on a truck and move throughout the rest of the country, you're likely seeing not Port of Hueneme trucks, but trucks that come from the San Pedro ports in Long Beach and Los Angeles. So it's not necessarily, if you're seeing port trucks, they're not necessarily coming from the Port of Hueneme.
Okay. One other follow-on question is, did I understand that there's an equal amount of truck traffic on each one of the major arteries, meaning the 101, the 118, the 126? Is that correct?
So the 101 carries the largest share of truck trips, but the 118 and the 126 were carrying a larger number of truck trips than we might have expected based on their size and configuration. So they were carrying roughly equivalent numbers of truck trips.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, crazy.
It doesn't seem logical, but based upon the size and the capacity that each of the arteries should be able to carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Amanda?
I have none.
All right. Well, Amanda, thank you very much. Very informative, and very happy to see that Highway 34 was not identified as a truck corridor. So hopefully our letter was explanatory enough for your group to contemplate that. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time and for your interest in the study. It's really important to us. So thank you.
Very good.
I appreciate you coming, and as a VCTC commissioner, I just really appreciate the good work you do for our staff too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, moving on our agenda, then we'll go to action items on agenda number 10. And I think first up is the Hadley Nursery CUP off of Balcom Canyon. I think we have Mr. Nelson available.
Well, actually, it's Thomas Chafee with the county planning is going to be presenting.
Yes, good evening, Chairman Richards, Supervisor Parks, and members of the Somis MAC. My name is Thomas, and I'm with the Ventura County Planning Division. The project before your MAC today is the Hartley Botanica outdoor events venue. The main reason for this CUP is they want to extend the terms. They're getting up to their expiration date. So they want to extend the terms of the CUP. They want to adhere to the newly adopted non-coastal zoning ordinance in the county, which allows 90 events per calendar year. That's an increase from what they have right now. Right now they have allowable up to 60. One additional temporary restroom trailer probably shouldn't be that big of an issue, but that is included in their proposal. And then they want to change the event days and hours of operations. This is probably the biggest change in the CUP from planning standpoint. Right now they're allowed weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They're allowed to end the event at midnight. Cleanup is allowed to happen up until 12:30 a.m. And then they were allowed 5 weekday events, Monday through Friday, ending at 10 p.m. And then they didn't have any cleanup after that 10 p.m. time limit. So what they want to do is they want to separate Friday from Monday through Thursday. And on Fridays now they want to have it match the weekend hours to where they'll end at midnight and then clean up till 12:30 a.m. And then on Monday through Thursday, they simply want to allow that half an hour for cleanup. So the events will still end at 10 p.m., but they want that 30 minutes to clean up before they have to be off the property. So we also have Alan Nelson, which is the applicant. And we also have Ms. Barbara Goodrich, who is the property owner, available to answer any questions that you may have. And then, of course, I am available to answer anything that you may have as well.
All right, thank you very much. Any commission members have questions?
No, I think it's a good place to have what they do there. If there's anybody around.
Thomas, I have a question and have any comments or complaints been received by the County Planning Division regarding this project?
We have not. And I also did a search from the previous permit that they had, and I was unable to find any planning violations or code violations related to this property. So as far as I'm concerned, the county has not received any violations in relation to this outdoor event venue.
Very good. The other question I have is under noise and light, at least the information that was provided to us, it talks about noise and light as being limited to existing operation. Could you fill me in on what the limitations are on noise and light?
Yeah, I'll have to dig into that deeper, and I'll be able to provide more details on what their current conditions allow them to do. But the proposal in front of us, they're not anticipating changing anything that they have currently going on. And with that means they adhere to the county noise standards. The county lighting standards, all lights are down shielded, so none of the light is projected off-site. None of the light is directed towards the neighbors. But what I can do is I can pull up the actual conditions from their existing CUP and provide that to your MAC. Because the conditions are something that we have the ability to adjust if need be. And any recommendations from your MAC to improve conditions, we would love to get the input from that and to see if there's anything that we could adjust to make it even better.
Well, my experience regarding noise has to do with someone is responsible for monitoring that, the event host, or in other words, they have to have on site a dB meter, and if it exceeds, they have to go over and tell the DJ or the band or whatever it is to turn it down so that it meets whatever standard is associated with the condition. I didn't know if there was anything similar to that.
That is usually a condition that we put on all of these temporary outdoor events. So I'm pretty certain that it is, but I will double check that. I do know for sure that out at Underwood at the grove that they have out there, the Walnut Grove, I know that they do have monitors that keep the decibel limits. So what you're saying is accurate with temporary events and outdoor events. I'll double check and then I'll get back to you on that one. I'm pretty certain it is in there.
Okay, you could let Vanessa know and she can provide us that information. So
okay.
Thank you, Thomas, appreciate it. Vanessa, I'm sure we're going to hear from Mr. Nielsen.
Mr. Nelson, did you have anything to add?
Oh, good evening, everybody. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Chairman Richards, Supervisor Parks, and Ms. Terry, thank you for setting this up. I only think I had just one point of clarification. Barbara Goodrich, she's actually the applicant. I'm just the consultant for the project to help her out with processing the CUP. So happy to answer any questions. I think we're both here in that capacity. So
I have a question on the diagram that's given to us. Identifies the property owner as Mr. and Mrs. Tash. The Tash is still the property owner, and is your applicant an individual? Will they be holding the conditional use permit, or is the property owner holding the conditional use permit?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the Tashes do own the property and we have been leasing there since 1986. So we will continue to be leasing until we're dead, I guess.
And Hartley Botanica is the permittee for the CUP.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Council?
Just one. Did Mr. Chaffee, did he state that he doesn't have any knowledge about noise complaints or anything of that nature?
Yeah, that is correct. What we do at the county is we have, if they go against their CUP, that'd be a planning violation that we'd put on the property. If it goes against the CUP, then it would be a code violation that goes on the property. I examined the history for the property itself, and couldn't find any violations for at least the past 15 years.
Thank you.
Yep.
And any other comments or questions?
Didn't we do this 3 or 4 years ago for Hartley's?
10 years ago.
Really? It's been that long?
Yeah.
Holy moly. Well, thanks for staying on top of it this time. You didn't let it lapse.
Okay.
I do have a public comments, but but I'm waiting for the council to finish before we open to the public.
Okay, I'm assuming we're finished unless there's an objection. All right.
I'm finished.
All right, I have one public comment, Pat, from Shelley Borden. Shelley, if you want to unmute, that would be *6.
I just have a question about any potential impact on traffic coming in or out on Balcom to the 118 or on the 118 coming in, going out.
So for this one, the traffic engineers have looked at it, and since the majority of the traffic trips will be on the weekend and non-work days and hours, they're not looking at it having a significant impact on the 118. They're still doing the review to see what mitigation may be required. But since the majority of this takes place on the weekend hours and after work hours, they're not as concerned about the vehicle traffic on the 118, because the 118 is definitely impacted during rush hour. So they were concerned, and they did look at that very deeply. But since it was after hours and weekends, they didn't see it having a significant impact.
If I may, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to jump in with a quick comment, but I will wait.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, just one point of clarification. I just wanted to reiterate that there is no increase in the number of attendees or guests. It'll stay at the previously approved numbers.
But an increase in the number of events.
That is correct.
Right. And assuming that these events will contain alcohol, any concern about people leaving, getting on the 118?
I will answer that question.
Especially since there'll be an increase, not necessarily in attendance, but in functions.
So currently we have a licensed server. The catering company is licensed and insured. They serve all of the alcohol at the event, and they cut off anyone that they feel has been overserved because their liability is on the line. And then we also have valet parking, and the valet will not give keys to people that they feel are intoxicated. We usually have a good deal of clients using a shuttle service, picking people up at the end of the night. people leave cars overnight. We don't charge them to leave cars. I would much rather have a car left overnight than to have someone drive it home. And Uber and Lyft are also used pretty heavily at the end of these events.
Thank you.
Just a note too, that was in the write-up here was the fact that there's now a signal at Balcom, which I assume enhances the safety of the guests coming and leaving.
Definitely helps with that left-hand turn at the end of the night. Any time of day, really.
Denise, do we have any other questions?
I have no more hands raised, so you're free to make a recommendation if you would choose to do so.
Okay. Anyone care to make a recommendation at this point in time?
I recommend that we approve it.
Okay.
Second.
Second on that?
So
Yes.
Bob has made the motion to recommend approval and Jack seconded the. I'll do a roll call. Bob Fulkerson,
Approve.
Jack Fox,
Approved.
Patty Martinez,
Approve.
and Chair Richards.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much. And then I will provide the information to Ms. Terry, the conditions of approval. If any of the MAC members feel that things need to be adjusted, feel free to reach out to me. We have time before the hearing and we have the 40 days after the hearing to make adjustments to those conditions. So once you see them, if you see something that throws up a red flag or need some adjusting, let me know and we can work through that as well.
Great.
But thank you all for your time. And you have a good rest of the night.
All right.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Thomas. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is discussion regarding redistricting. I think Supervisor Parks had some comments with regards to redistricting.
Yes, I know that the last time that I came to you and asked if you wanted to submit a comment, you decided that you'd like to wait and see. And so here's another opportunity, whether you want to or make a comment or just leave things as they are. Yesterday, we had a 12-hour Board of Supervisors meeting, and in it, we had 2 hearings on our redistricting, and I'll likely we'll be making some decisions on Tuesday, the 16th, I believe it is. So what we have approved to come back to us is one map that pretty much leaves 4 of the 5 districts the same. The one district that has the most change is the Camarillo district. The goal of the Board of Supervisors was to meet the Fair Map Act, which requires, if we have an ability to make a what they call a majority minority district, in this case, that minority would be the Latinx, that we are bound to do that. So there is the ability to make that second majority district. The first majority minority district is Oxnard area. So the second one breaks off the Santa Paula, Fillmore, and Piru area. And that there's enough population there of Latinos that we are able to make a second majority minority district. So I want to show you that map. Currently, the way that map is drawn, it slices a little bit of the MAC boundary. And so when they come back to us on Tuesday, they've been asked to put the entire MAC in one supervisor district. As you can see, the orange color is the district you're currently in with me.
This one.
A little bit north of that is Supervisor Huber's district. And that has like Kings Grove in it, if you can kind of see where that is. And you can even zoom in more and actually see that the name of the streets there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Kings Grove. So that was one change. We have some little tweaks to do, but that will be one that I'm requesting and the board has agreed to. And then if you could pull back out, Denise, the rest of this map, as you can see, it does change a bit. Oxnard kind of swoops over and takes some of Camarillo. In addition, some of that orange area, District 2, comes into Camarillo to the area of let's see, if you a little bit more, Leisure Village.
Leisure Village.
Right, so we have Leisure Village and they're in the area right above Upland. So what's happening is because Camarillo will have less of that new Latino district. As a result of that, Camarillo is getting divided more. And I believe in this map, it gets divided 3 ways. If you can kind of show us Camarillo.
So this is East Camarillo. That's the high schools right here.
Mhm.
And then you've got this
But
part in 5, and then this part in District 3.
Mm-hmm. The
Town.
pink color would be Supervisor Ramirez at this time. And the green would be, or the teal color would be Supervisor Long. So there is definitely a lot at play here, as you can see. And this seems to be the map that we have settled on. Again, if you could pull back out. With my district, District 2, it leaves all of Thousand Oaks in one district. There was proposals to split Thousand Oaks between the east and west and putting the east portion into Supervisor Huber's Simi Valley district. So this leaves Thousand Oaks together. It continues to have Oak Park in the district also, because there was also a proposal to take that out. So the reason why I like this one, it does keep Thousand Oaks, Oak Park whole, keeps the Santa Monica Mountains all together, and it just extends it into the Camarillo area. Minor changes, kind of big to me, but minor overall. At the Cal State University Channel Islands, which is currently my district, would go over to Supervisor Ramirez area. So that's why I support this, because it does, for the most part, keep the district whole. Supervisor Levere is the blue district, and that keeps his district whole too, in the sense that it keeps the Ojai Ventura connection there. That's really important to him. And so that the new Latino district has a portion of Camarillo with Supervisor Long, and then it does include Santa Paula and Fillmore and Piru, and just barely makes it into like 50.1% or something, as I recall, Latino. And so the biggest change is happening with the Oxnard supervisor and the Camarillo supervisor. So that, as you would imagine, the city of Camarillo is not happy with this one, but it's a very difficult exercise, truly, because how do you increase the numbers of population that to reach this second majority district is you have to reduce basically some of the white district out of the one that's there that Supervisor Long oversaw. So that's kind of what's happening there. And kind of a Hail Mary that was thrown out at the very end. Supervisor Long threw up a map and said, you know, what about this map? And we all pretty much gave it a thumbs down because it separated out Ojai from Ventura. And so we said no, and she said, well, what happens if it didn't separate Ojai from Ventura?
No, I don't think.
This one? Different map, but we did.
Oh, this isn't it?
No, it is it.
Oh, okay.
That's the one, but I'm saying it would be to not, she said, you know, what if we had this map, but it didn't separate out Ojai from Ventura? It obviously wouldn't be the same map. As you can see in the far west side, northwest, that puts Ojai into this very kind of strange winding district. But that's, she has the opportunity to see if that can happen. I doubt highly that you can put Ventura and Ojai together and still achieve that minority majority. So this is also on the table if she can put Ojai back with Ventura. The consultant didn't think that was possible. I don't think it's possible, and it's very unlikely. So that's why we're looking at that other map. So as far as Somis goes, I looked at with the map that at least 4 of us, I think, support. I looked at what would happen if Somis went into the teal color. I thought perhaps that would increase the majority of the minority, but it turns out it made it more white, not more Latino, which is interesting. So Somis, if it were to be carved out and put into the Latino district, the Latino district would no longer be a Latino district. And you realize then how close it is to just being Latino.
Yeah.
Because you know, Somis is only what, maybe 3,000, give or take, people. So that was enough to take that whole 100 and whatever 60,000 plus and change it. So looks like as we're proposing it, Somis would remain in District 2 and be slightly tweaked so that all of your MAC boundary stays whole, which I think is important. And you know, you'll end up with a new supervisor in about a year and 4 months and 32 days, not counting the days and hours, but you're gonna have a new supervisor anyways. And what this really does, yeah, is the redistricting determines who your supervisor is, and that's all. You still have the same services, same waterworks district, same school, you know, everything else stays the same. It's just who is your supervisor.
Linda, I have a question. On the map, it looks like Hoover and yours districts end at Sand Canyon. Did your district also end previously at Sand Canyon? Oh, over.
It does bring in more into the district. That is a good question. I actually have the MAC boundary, and you know, that kind of also distinguishes where in Somis my boundary ends. So do you have that?
The MAC boundary? Yeah.
I can send it to you if you'd like.
I just have to stop sharing for a second to get to it. Give me a second.
Well, that district takes Tyler off the board.
Is he up in Kingsgrove?
No, he's between Sand Canyon and Balcom.
Oh, okay.
So he's in the other district if it stops at Sand Canyon.
All right.
So, but the instructions that were given with that map we just looked was to align my district with the boundaries of the MAC. So the entire same MAC boundaries would apply. Yeah, that is your current MAC boundaries. So it's Balcom
and then to Walnut. So
you take that whole chunk out of the bottom left corner or bottom right corner. If you moved it over to Sand Canyon, it used to go to Balcom.
So do you have preferences one way or the other? You know, I don't. my only thought is, you know, obviously keep the MAC together, but it does look like it will have to stay in District 2 though, Somis.
No, but I'm saying that chunk between Sand Canyon and Balcom, I mean, there's probably 10 people that live there. Why don't you just keep it at Balcom rather than Sand Canyon?
Yeah, I would agree, Bob.
Yeah, I agree too.
So that definitely is something that we could request, and it shouldn't be a problem at all.
If that's a census district.
If you
we ran into that. We ran into that problem last night for Somis School is you can't cut a census district. We were trying to do this for Somis School for our 3,100 people, and it's like, it's tough. Because we got a lot of places where there's no people.
Yeah, we aren't restricted by census districts. So do you see where they're pointing that out, Venice?
The Balcom Canyon, yeah. But I was like, because here, I'll show you. I don't know how to, I have to stop sharing and then share again. Because it's, oops. So if you asked to include the MAC boundaries, wouldn't that automatically include this as well? If they're going to try to keep it whole with the MAC boundaries? Because right now your MAC boundary goes to here.
Yes.
Right.
So.
Well, but it's getting moved out of the supervisory district, so.
I see. Yes.
On that map.
The population doesn't seem to be a factor.
They would take the green portion of the MAC boundary and put it into the orange is what will happen when we tweak it.
Correct.
The green portion of the MAC boundary.
The green portion. Do we have to make a recommendation or?
You don't have to do anything, but
Okay.
that's already a request that I have given. And I had support, and it doesn't change the numbers. If you would like to write a letter to confirm that that is what you would like, that is up to you.
Well, I think you could carry that message for us. I mean, that would be my interest. How about the rest of the council?
That way you don't have two supervisors overseeing one MAC, which you can't have.
Right.
I don't know how that would work.
It would not work.
I have a question.
Go
Can you
ahead.
pull up the map again and
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
go to Kings Grove?
Hey, Dave.
That's over here.
Yeah, zoom in.
Further?
Yep. Okay, now move it to the right a little bit.
To the, like this way?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, now the Grove Property Owners Association, which is a not a farm community, but more of a people community. I don't have the right term.
Residential.
But it includes West Kingsgrove, which does not have a line on it to the left.
Oh, maybe if I scooch in. Nope.
And move it to the right. And you see where it says West Kingsgrove Drive, but there's no street there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it includes all of North Green Tree and all of Kingsgrove and Heatherton. And then move it to the left. A little bit higher.
So
The other
up there?
way.
Oh, the other way. Okay.
Keep on going. And move to the left. There's Faircrest on the
Okay.
right. So all that area in there is all residential, not farmland. I mean, it's 2 acre minimum avocado groves, but it's all residential. So we contribute to the city of Somis. So why would we not be part of Somis as opposed to farmland, which is outside of that area? And if you had a map that showed houses, it would be readily apparent of what's happening.
Yes, and that's why I requested that they change the boundary so you will stay with the rest of Somis. And the board was okay with that. And that's one of the couple of tweaks that are going to be made to this countywide map is to bring all of Somis together again.
Okay, so that,
And why they drew it this way, I don't know, other than not as familiar with Somis as we are.
okay, so you're aware of it. Thank you.
Yes, that is exactly right. And that's what I meant by the MAC boundaries, because the MAC already encompasses that in my district. So we're gonna make all that MAC boundary turn orange, which includes Kings Grove and that whole area.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion. Why don't you take all of the Somis School District and put it in the orange area? There's only 3,100 people in the Somis School District, and you already got half of them in there already. So you're only talking 1,500 people.
And that
At
boundary.
max.
And is it all in the MAC boundary right now?
Well, what Dave is proposing, if you make that the green part orange, that's part of the Somis School District. So you almost pretty much have all of Somis School District up, except up to the top of South Mountain where there's nobody lives.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're only talking about moving about, I would say max, just by cutting it in half, 1,500 people, but I say you probably got less than 1,000 in there.
You can have some people up Bradley. What's that? That estates up there, that gated community?
Solana Verde.
Solana Verde, yeah.
So you want to go back to the other map, Venice?
The MAC map?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how to do it the other way. There we go.
So this is the area that we're going to make sure is all that orange color. And so all in District 2. And so are there areas of the school district that isn't in here in this?
Well, a little bit of the Stockton Road area over there in District 4 is part of Somis School.
The Stockton Road area?
Yeah, it should go almost to Grimes, but not to Grimes. And then Somis School goes over to Egan, not Walnut.
And that's one to the west.
This way?
Yeah.
So
No, that's Salome. You want to go east from Walnut to the next road, which is Egan.
Go east.
That's the Somis Mesa boundary right there.
I think it would definitely behoove you to make your request. Now, the thing is, though, you are looking at the MAC boundary that was formed after a resolution at the Board of Supervisors. So if you want to change the MAC boundary, that's like a different issue. Right now, I just want to get all the MAC into, one district.
Well, that's fine too, because we're basically talking about unpopulated areas. I mean, the mountains, so to speak, where nobody lives.
Can you zoom in to the top so we can see the borderline between District 3 and 2?
This one doesn't really
doesn't
zoom in.
zoom,
It's
okay.
it's a PDF, so
Yeah.
I don't have the same zoom in capability.
So we would be looking at making sure we keep the whole MAC boundary all in one district, and that would be the goal.
Yeah, I would say move your border from Sand Canyon over to Balcom at least.
Yes, so it's consistent with the MAC boundary.
Right.
Okay, and that's what I've requested. So that should be the case. So the question to the MAC is, do you want to say, please, you would support the map if you could, or move all of the MAC boundary into District 2?
I support what you said you supported.
I would support that.
And Denise could probably draft that pretty easily. It's just a couple of sentences. We can have the chair of the MAC sign it and we can submit it to the board. So we have it in time for our vote on Tuesday, if you'd like.
Great. Patricia, are you on board with that?
So Bob, are you making the motion to draft
Oh,
the
sure, why
letter
not? Sure.
to support map 78227, so long as it includes the MAC boundaries in there, its entirety?
Or moving the eastern boundary from Sand Canyon to Balcom, either way you want to word it.
Well, because if you do the MAC boundaries and in its entirety, that would also take care of Dave's issue with Kings Grove.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is this map available online to view?
Yeah, it was in the email I sent. Did you get the reminder this morning? And these two maps.
I
if you
haven't
click
been able to
those-
connect to my internet since
Oh,
last night, so
okay,
Well-
yes, but they are online.
I just have.
There's
the
3 of them
printed,
online,
email,
but is
so-
this a 4th one or is this one of the 3?
This is an email she sent to you.
This morning.
Right.
The link.
We
With
got 3 maps on the email she sent to us.
two
With
maps.
The one we're looking at right now. Is that a new map, number 4 maybe?
No. I sent
Okay.
the one I sent this morning was basically the Board of Supervisors voted to narrow down the 4 maps, or was it 4 or 5
3.
maps down to 2. And so the
Okay.
first email I sent last week had, I think it was just one link and it went to like 4 or 5 maps. The one this morning just had these 2 maps because that's what the Board of Supervisors narrowed it down to.
If you're
All right.
more comfortable, you can just say, in the redistricting process, we want the entire MAC boundary to stay in one supervisor district and leave it at that. If you'd like
That's
to,
true.
you don't have to weigh in on one map or the other. It's just like, make sure you put all of this together in
All
the
right.
new redistricting.
That's probably easier.
All right, everybody square on that?
Patty, I'm sorry, I feel like I cut you off. Did you have a question?
No. I mean, I'll look at all of this in detail later on, but and generally I support it as long as it all stays together.
Sure.
Did
All
Bob
right.
make a recommendation?
I'm sorry, Jack,
Bob had a recommendation,
to.
I made the motion, yes.
motion. Jack, did you second?
I do second, yes.
Okay,
Okay. If you're ready for a roll call, I will do so.
sure, go ahead.
Bob Fulkerson,
Aye.
Jack Foss,
Yes.
Patty Martinez,
Approve.
and Chair Richards.
Yes,
Okay,
Well, I'm glad we had the opportunity to have a MAC meeting, so you're able to do this before we vote on Tuesday.
great. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on our agenda. Any future agenda items that the council would like to have on our next agenda? I would like some additional information on the status of the broadband.
sure.
Any other council members would like to add anything to a future agenda?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say this, but we heard about a future way station on the 118. We heard about a timeline. I don't recollect what the embankment improvement for the train, the train tracks is, what the time frame is for that.
Oh, they were still in the design phase.
Okay,
That's
Yeah, that's a
24, 25.
couple years out still.
okay, well,
But I can see if there's any update.
please.
Well, while you're talking to Caltrans, asking about our sidewalks to Camarillo. I saw a lot of guys down there with maps yesterday.
Which side is it on? Is it on the farmer
Eastbound.
side or the other side?
It's the one by the railroad track crossing.
Okay.
Any other items for future agenda? All right, hearing none, I'd be glad to entertain a motion. for adjournment.
I have a hand raised or,
Sorry.
did you want to add, did you want to entertain any more public comments?
Oh,
And there, you don't, I mean, I have a hand raised. But,
I'm now confused, but
Supervisor.
okay, we're past future agenda items.
Yeah, future agenda items. Okay,
And I have for broadband and 118.
118.
Project improvements, whatever the status might be.
The rehab, yeah.
Right. Anything else, Denise?
Did you have anything else?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll move it.
Okay,
I second it.
Jack.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Aye.
Chair Richard. Okay.
What?
That just kind of got away from me. Bob Fulkerson,
Aye.
Jack Foss,
Aye.
Patricia Martinez,
Aye.
Chair Richards.
Aye.
Okay. So
All right.
7:46.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything that you do for us. And please stay healthy and stay safe out there.
Thank you. Thank you all for your good work.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.